going on, everyone? It's Bales and welcome back to another AFL fantasy video on the channel. Today we'll be going through my round two AFL fantasy review and how I went. I was hoping that this would be a week that I could make a bit of ground up from last week, but unfortunately sort of stagnated a little bit. So I've got plenty of work to do ahead of round three, but let's have a look at how I went. But before we do, if you are enjoying the video, make sure you click like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're very, very close to 800. I think we're only 12 away from time recording. So if you can help me hit 800 and then 1,000, that support will be very much appreciated as always. So I scored a 20-23 in round two. Again, I was hoping for a bit more. I was hoping to make a bit of a move in terms of rankings this week, but unfortunately sort of stagnated a little bit. So I had a round rank of 27,557. So yeah, not amazing, but could have been a lot worse as well. Obviously, Laird captain did help me, which I'll talk about him in a sec as well. But up to 19,550 overall, so up 111 spots. So again, I can't complain with the green arrow, but I was hoping it was going to be a bigger green arrow because, yeah, stuck at this 20k, I want to be inside the top 10k. I want to be top 100. I want to get a hat. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that goes. Let's go through my +3 and -3. +3 would have to go to my mate, my boy, Rory Laird. He responded big after a quiet 57. From what I heard, my mate said he was watching the game. I obviously went to the game, but he said on commentary that Jonathan Brown said that he was actually heard that Rory Laird was sick against GWS. So that mixed with the hot weather doesn't surprise me. He only scored a 57. So, but 142 looked fantastic. Scored at least 30 points in every quarter, 47 points in the last quarter as well. He was just big. So he had a fantastic game and very happy to take that 142 as my captain. So after Doherty did fail as my VC. -3, I think would have to go to Sean Darcy. 11 points at halftime. I was thinking, oh, here we go. I'm going to get a 40, aren't I, from a ruck. And English at the exact same time was doing really well, really well and got a 116. But Sean Darcy at least got to a 61, but still not enough when Witts outscored him again this week. That's 2 weeks in a row. Witts outscored him. So hopefully Darcy can go and, have a good week this week. So let's get into how my team went for the week. So Sam Doherty starting off with a 79 on the Thursday night as my VC. A little bit quiet from Doc. I was hoping for a little bit more from him, but at the end of the day, these premiums are going to have some quiet games. So I'm sure that he'll bounce back this week. GWS is a better matchup. Carlton have had a couple of games where it's been really, really tight and close, so he hasn't been able to get his easy ball around the ground, but they have got a pretty good month coming up. So I'm expecting Doc to bounce back. I wouldn't be trading him out, but yeah, a bit disappointing. 110 and 79 to start. The 110 is pretty good, but the 79 not so much. And you could have saved money when a guy like Nick Dacos, who I currently don't have on my side, is going 110 plus in both weeks. So he is sure to be a target of mine, at least, maybe not this week, but in the next couple of weeks. Andrew McGrath with an 88. It's not too bad. He only scored 50 points in the other three quarters. He had 38 points in the opening quarter, and I thought, oh, here we go. This is exactly what I bought him for. I was hoping for a 110, and he slowed really in the second and third quarter. He had a decent last quarter. I think he had 26 points in the last quarter. So to get to an 88 is okay, especially when defenders aren't really doing too much. But it would have been nice if he could have got to the ton. But he's not really too much of an issue, but he's not setting the world on fire either. So he's in that sort of zone where you could move him, but you could also hold him. I'm going to hold him. Got St Kilda this week. I expect hopefully a 90 plus would be nice, but I guess we'll have to see. Will Day, he just continues to impress, doesn't he? 92 against Sydney at the SCG. It was a great score. He's really he looks like a different player at the moment. In the last few years, he's looked like a player that's going to get injured at any moment, whereas at the moment, and that's touch wood that he doesn't get injured, he's just looked fantastic. And he's played a lot more midfield on the weekend, and he just looks composed with the ball, and as I said, looks like a new player. So I'm definitely happy to hold him. He's up to 603k now, so he's made a good sort of 60, 70k already in 2 weeks, and he's just going to continue to rise. So if you don't have him, I would be jumping on because he looks like a very good mid-priced option. Same with Charlie Constable. So another 84, I think it was 84. Was it 84? I'm pretty sure it was 84 points on the weekend. No, 81. Sorry, he's averaging 84. So 81 points. He looked good again. I think he's playing well enough. I don't think he's going to get dropped. I think that on the weekend, he played better than a lot of other Gold Coast players, and I just see him staying in the side. Maybe just Charlie Bell. No, he got suspended? Yeah, suspended for a week. So Does that maybe mean Charlie Constable's job security is good? I know they pay sort of Charlie Ballard's a tall defender, but they've got some defenders in there. So maybe Constable keeps his spot. Maybe it's good for Bodie, Euland as well. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, Constable making some good money. I think he's up nearly 100k in 2 weeks, and he's still got a low break even. I think his break even was, what was his break even again? Yeah, 2. So he's going to make a lot of cash, which is always nice. And yeah, if you haven't got him, he's still not a bad option at 422k, making some good money and putting up some good scores. So one to consider, but very happy with his output the first 2 weeks. Ruben Jinby, another 71. So again, making really good cash, but he's just a rookie that I'm not really worried about. Him, McKenzie, Ashcroft. I know we'll talk about McKenzie a little bit in a sec, but and then obviously top 6 defender when he gets defender status. Harry Sheezel, he's looking fantastic. We'll talk about him as well. But those 4, I'm not really concerned about. It's sort of the other rookie or 2 that I've got on field that I'm concerned about, which is the next guy, Lockie Cowan, with only a 40. Look, I had Wilmot on the bench as emergency. It only cost me 18 points, but it's just at D6. They're just not putting up really strong numbers. Like Wilmot's been solid, 51, 58 in his 2 games. But like Cowan with a 40 and a 35. Chesser has had 2 sub-35 scores in his 2 games. Does he get a rest this week? I don't. People are saying he was injured, but I didn't see anything from post-match that he was injured. So maybe he just gets a rest. Maybe he's a sub. I don't know. We'll have to see. Hopefully he keeps his spot, but it is just something there that hasn't scored too highly in the first few weeks. Moving to the midfield, obviously my man Rory Laird, big bounce back, so I'm definitely not worried about him. Tough matchup this week against Port Adelaide, so I think I'll still keep the C on him, but I'm not expecting a 140 again from him. But then again, you never know. He's just an absolute machine. Marcus Bonampelli. Now, 99 last week, sorry, 99 round 1, 92 last week. I paid nearly 900k for him, hoping he'd be able to go above that 105 and be a good value pick. But the Bulldogs are just really struggling the first 2 weeks. So that's a positive and a negative. In the negative sense is that he's just suffering because the Bulldogs just aren't playing good enough. But in the positive, does that mean they're going to turn it around? He's going to start going at 110. I'm not sure. I don't like trading premiums, and I'll talk about my trades later on, but he is a guy that I've played around with it in the first few days since since the last day since lockout lifted, and there's a few trades I could do with him that could make my team a lot better. So I'm probably not going to trade him. I don't like trading my premiums, and I'd like to stick by that because they always burn. You look at the people that traded Laird last week. I know some people traded because they had to get their ruck up, which if you went down to, say, a Setterfield, and then you went from a Cherry up to English, you'd be laughing. It wouldn't matter if you got rid of Laird, but yeah, I'm not sure. But we'll talk about my trades after. But yeah, Bont, I'm not exactly thrilled with. Plays Thursday night, so if I do make a move with him, I'm going to have to do that by Thursday. Tom Green, he got a 90. Not too bad. He looked better as the game, like in the last quarter, and he didn't look too bad throughout the game, but didn't have the same impact that he did the week before. Did the trip to Perth have something to do with that? And did that game last week against the Crows in that heat, did that have something to do with it? So a 90, he did get some attention from Jinby as well and a couple of other players. So maybe when Kelly comes back, does he get less attention and start going at maybe that 100-plus mark that I thought he would be, bringing him in? So yeah, just had to see how he goes. Carlton this week, not exactly an easy matchup, but it's not too hard a match. I think Carlton middle of the road for midfielders. So I'm hoping for a big week from Tom Green. Dom Sheed, he's not doing like terribly, right? He's gone back-to-back 70s, which is what he's priced at. So he's not killing you by going 50s and dropping cash, right? So he's gone up a little bit. I think he's gone up, 16k, I think it has been in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, 16k. So, but when you've got a Will Setterfield that's now 717, he's now 110k more than Dom Sheed, and he only started about 20k more. That's when it stings. So Dom Sheed is definitely one that I'm considering moving on this week. I think at the moment I don't have him moving on, but he is one that I'm considering that I could move on. So yeah, not exactly thrilled with him, and I'm hoping he can bounce back if I decide to keep him, but I guess we'll have to see. He just looks a little bit slow at the moment, unfortunately, and yeah, he got stuck on the bench in the first quarter, got stuck on the bench, I think it was in the third quarter as well. The other 2 quarters, he played in excess of 85% game time. So I don't know if that was just an issue with him getting on, or if his rotation is 2 quarters, he plays most of it, and then 2 quarters, he rests a bit of it. I don't know. So, but yeah, James Warple, another good score of an 82. So again, making good cash. He's now near 550, which is fantastic when he was sort of around that mid 400. So yeah, and I was sort of, him and Will Day, I wasn't sure about this week against Sydney at the SCG, but they both put up good scores, and Warple has got that role. Played less CBAs on the weekend, but he looks a lot better than what he did last year and even the year before. So definitely one that you can still consider if you don't have him in your side, because he's still got a low break even of 29. But yeah, if you've got him, you'd be enjoying his price rise for the time being. Finn Callahan, he did well to save his score, because he had like a 30-point last quarter or something like that. I think it might have even been 35 or something like that. It was a big last quarter from him to get to that. But copped the shoulder knock. I'm a little bit worried about that moving forward. If he gets a little knock on that again, does that mean he gets ruled out mid-game? So he is one I'm considering moving off of, even though his break-even is still, I think it's still 31. I think it's still quite low. Yeah, 31. So, yeah, he's one I'm considering, because I can get him to a Setterfield potentially with my trades. So that would be something I'd be happy to do. And he was only meant to be a short-term play for the first month or so anyway, so I may be moving him a week or two too early. But if it gets me Setterfield, then I'd be pretty happy. So that's something I'm looking at. And yeah, just a little bit worried about that shoulder moving forward. But he's been good. He's still made a good amount of coin in the first 2 weeks. And if I decide to keep him, I think he'll still make a little bit more coin. Cam McKenzie struggled in that game with a 44. I'm not too worried, because he played less midfield time, but I think that was just because they were getting pumped. They were just running some different guys through there. And I think he'll perform a lot better than that in other games. So I don't think we can worry too much about him. It was just a bit of a tough game for him. Will Ashcroft looked fantastic. Obviously, the Rising Star nominee for round 2 with a 90. 31 disposals. Hadn't taken a mark yet, though, this year. So I'm hoping to see a couple of marks against the Bulldogs on Thursday night. But again, with that big score now into his price, he's now got a low break-even of -3. So he's going to start making some good money now, which is good. So looking forward to his price rises and owning him for the next few weeks, like all of us do. Ollie Hollands was good on the bench with a 77, so I've considered maybe going someone down to put him on field, and that is still a play that I'm considering. I just think with Setterfield this week, I think it's going to be a little bit too hard for me to exactly do that this week, unless I was to keep a Tom Powell in my forward line, which at the moment he's one of the guys I'm trading out. We'll have to see. Alan Davey was a bit quiet, but again, still making some good money. I think he's a bench option. I don't really think we can play him on field, but still good with the mid-forward flexibility and making cash, so I don't have a problem with keeping him still there for a few more weeks while he makes cash. Ryan Marshall, 116. People worried midway through the second quarter about Marshall not performing well, but he went fantastic, especially in the second half. End up on was he on a 116? Maybe English got a 118. Maybe we got that wrong before, but yeah, Marshall, fantastic. Looks great as a solo ruck. And I think because St Kilda are winning, I don't see them bringing in Tom Campbell. So, great. Very happy with Marshall so far. As I mentioned before, Sean Darcy struggled in this game. Well, not so much struggled. It was more that the coaching decision to put Luke Jackson as the main ruck in the first half meant that Sean Darcy struggled. Second half, 50 points. Looked a lot better. And I expect them to roll with him as the number one ruck moving forward. He's their best ruck. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, I think that they'll put him there. He should take full advantage of the West Coast matchup this week, obviously with a Bailey Williams, and maybe they'll have a Jamison, but I'm not concerned if they even bring in a Jamison. And, yeah, I expect us to go 100 plus this week and respond from last week. Obviously, Max Heek's not playing there. Josh Dunkley, 97. So, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, but he only played 69% game time for a 97. So, that's pretty good for only 69% game time. He's normally a sort of anywhere from 77, which he played in the first round, to an 85% game time sort of midfielder. I expect him to he'll be up for this game. This will be obviously revenge game against the Dogs on Thursday night. I think at the moment I'm looking at putting him as my VC. I could see a big score coming from him. And, man, yeah, I'm not worried about him. I think a few people have looked at trading him out. I just don't think you can, because he is the sort of player you trade him out. He goes 150 the week you trade him out. So I would be advising against that. But 26 disposals, he'll get more marks. He'll probably get more tackles than what he did as well. I'm not too worried. So yeah, Dunkley looked better last week for sure. But that's the same with all the Brisbane players. Tim Taranto, again, getting the job done with a 108. I know a lot of people put in captain last week, and you'd be pretty happy with the 108, especially if you had him and Laird. Only cost you 34 points, so not a huge amount. And yeah, just gets the job done, and he looks fantastic. So yeah, I think he's definitely going to be a top 2 forward, and he is a guy that you can look at now as your captain and vice captain. So plays Friday night against Collingwood. I think that's not a bad shout as well to put as a VC, especially with Hopper potentially not playing against Collingwood. So, yeah, Taranto, very happy with him. Connor Rosie, quiet game, 81. They got pumped by Collingwood. He went off in the second quarter for a HIA test. So, again, and he struggled early in the third quarter. So, I'm not really too worried with Rosie. He'll still be top 6 foot in my opinion. And again, good matchup this week against the Crows. I think he could potentially go 110 plus this week. And he's probably a good candidate to win the Showdown medal. So, I wouldn't be trading Rosie if I'm being honest. If it happened in a few weeks' time, if he still goes sub 90, then you can look at it. But he top scored in the last game at 95. It was a low scoring game, and I know people saying about Port's system isn't going to have a lot of big scorers, but I think Rosie will be a big scorer and he'll come good. So, and he hasn't been that bad anyway. Still averaging from his 2 games? What would it be, like high 80s, isn't it? Yeah, 88, and he's priced at like 87. So. It's okay. It's fine. I'm not too worried. Errol Goulden, 104 last week. Very happy with him. He got better as well as the game went on. And yeah, again, for a guy that's was priced 83 to begin the year, average. He's got what did he get in the first round? He got 99 and a 104, averaging over 100 in his first 2 games. He's doing exactly what we wanted him to do. So very happy with him. Tom Powell, again, I'm thinking I've got to get off of him. What I should have done is I should have got off him last week and banked that cash and played Chandler on field. It would have got me an extra point, and then I also would have had an easier path to get both Setterfield and Sheezel. But such is fantasy. We don't always make the right call. So, yeah, I'm looking at moving him off this week. Simpkin out sort of makes me think, what if he gets the role this week? But he's only out for a week. Simpkin will be back the week after, and it's not really going to change much because Phillips probably comes back in for Simpkin and takes that majority CBA role, and Simpkin continues to be this 5 to 10 CBA sort of type player. He still looked good, but yeah, I think I've got to move off him. Harry Sheezel, the cheese, he's looked fantastic. 127 again. I think there was a stat on, I don't know who put it on Twitter, but there's only been 2 players that have had over, 30 disposals or 32 disposals in their first 2 games, being Michael Barlow and Harry Sheezel. It must have been over 30 disposals, yeah. And then there's only been 2 players scoring over 115 in fantasy, and that's being Harry Sheezel and Michael Barlow. So she's in very good company. He's looking fantastic and went up 108k this week. Break even of negative 40. He's going to be 600k within the next fortnight. So fantastic. This is what we want rookies to do. We never expect them to go back-to-back 115 plus scores. So he's going to get defender status in round 6. So he's just going to be that guy. Can he be a guy that's in that sort of top 10, 12 defender range? He's worth a shout, and hopefully he keeps this hole in the VFL playing really well. I still think Sheezel and Zeebel's the way North Melbourne want to go at this point. But that is a little slight thing in the VFL that if they bring Hall in, that'll affect both Sheezel and Zeebel. And also with Paul Curtis being injured, I don't know if he's going to be out for too long or if he even will be out at all. But if Curtis was to be out, could they shift Sheezel forward for a week and put Hall back with Zeebel? That could be something that they could do. So something to watch, but yeah, he's been fantastic, Sheezel. Chandler, again, solid score. Only played 63% game time on the weekend, which was a little bit odd, but a lot of players did have low game time in that. So I think that was just to do with the blackout, and maybe they were on the bench maybe a few minutes before the blackout, and maybe they stayed on the bench when the game came back. So yeah, 64 against the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba is a pretty good score, and back at the MCG this week, and I think he'll hold his spot. He looks like his job security is pretty good at the moment. He's playing well enough. I think he's playing better than he likes the Spargos and that, and he'd probably hold his spot in the team. It's not like he's a rookie anymore. He is 23, 24 years of age. So yeah, he's doing really well. Still a negative 21 break even, so still got plenty of cash to make, which is great. Luke Pedder as well, solid score, 55. I'd still rather have Chandler on field at the moment, but Pedler is a guy that if there's a good matchup, I think you can play him on field. So Port Adelaide this week, I probably wouldn't play him on field, but yeah, in other matchups where it's easier, I think he is a shout on field. And then Matthias Philippou as well, scored a 42, did need 3 goals to get there. I think he will have better games, and they have won the first 2 weeks where you would have thought maybe his scoring would have been a little bit higher, but he is playing this sort of deep forward role, and yeah, not quite conducive to fantasy scoring. So I have heard a few people say they might be tempted to jump off of him because he is at 315 and you can go down to another option and make some good cash. So that is something that I've half considered. I just think that he's still got cash to make, and I think he will pop a 70 plus score soon could be this week against the Bombers. So, yeah, I'd be looking to hold. But yeah, I guess if it gets you Setterfield, then you could always do that. But, yeah, I'd look to be holding. In terms of what I'm looking at doing this week in my trades, at the moment is Tom Power down to Samson Ryan, potentially, or Miller Bergman, one of those two. Samson Ryan, if I grab him, I can then do a loop in the forward line because Max Heath's a ruck forward. I can say loop a Philippou on a Saturday night. If he scores well, put Heath on field and take his score. And if he doesn't, put Chan on field. So that's something I'm considering doing there. But if I don't, it'll be Miller Bergman, and I could potentially field him this week against Hawthorn over a Wilmot, who's got the Bulldogs. So that's something I'm considering. But then the second trade at the moment, I've got Callaghan up to Setterfield. Dom Sheed to Setterfield is something I've looked at as well. That's the question for me this week. Who do I get rid of, Sheed or Callaghan? At the moment, I'm on getting rid of Callaghan, just with that shoulder sort of risk and the fact that Dom Sheed has done it in the past. His first 2 games of football in a fair while. I know he played 1 game last year, but it's his first 2 games. I think he's just going to get better as games go on. He struggled. If he was to struggle again this week, I'd jump off of him next week. But yeah, at the moment, I'm keeping off. I just think I'd rather be stuck with a Dom Sheed compared to being stuck with a Callaghan. That's sort of, it's a tough decision. So I think both will be gone for me within the next 2-3 weeks anyway. But yeah, I think I'd just rather keep Sheed just in the hope that he pops 100 and can start making some good cash. But yeah, that's what I'm currently sitting at. I've also looked at the possibility of going a Bont to a Setterfield and then a Tom Powell to a Jack Zeeble, getting those 2 mid prices in. And then next week I can potentially do something like Callaghan down and Dom Sheed up to a big midfielder if I wanted to. I could go back to a Bont if he went huge. I could get a Josh Kelly if he performed well again this week. So I've got some options. I'm not sure I really like the idea of trading Bont out, but it does get me Zeeble and Setterfield. So it is something that, especially with the Dogs struggling, Bevo, I don't know what's going on with that at the moment. So that is something I'm looking at for this week. So that's going to do it for this video. I'll be back tomorrow for the trade talk video, the Wednesday trade talk video. So make sure you tune into that one. But appreciate you guys watching the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn notifications on so you don't miss when I go live or upload any other content. Plenty of content still coming out on the channel during the season over the next few weeks. So stay tuned for all that. All my social media links are in the description below. So make sure you go and follow all of those. And then also tune into the AFL Fantasy Fanatics Twitter Spaces every Friday, about an hour and a half before lockout on the Friday, or the partial lockout on the Friday night. And then also on this Sunday night after the final game. So I believe that'll be 7:30 Eastern. 8 p.m. Eastern, sorry, this Sunday, because I think the game's about half an hour later than normal. So make sure you tune in for that. We'll have some more guests on and go through round 3. So hopefully that'll be a good round. Let me know in the comments below what trades you guys are looking at doing this week. And if you've got any other questions as well, let me know in the comments below or hit me up on the social media, wherever you want to do that. So until later on tonight with the daily news recap, that'll be up there as well. But I'll catch you guys in the next video. I'm out. Cheers.